Our first question is an interesting one because I can understand Lewis's issue here. Lewis says this: I've read or heard a couple of times from you that anywhere from 15 to 30 reps is enough for every movement pattern per session, outside of loaded carries and hinges, because those are really kind of hard to measure quantitatively. Reminder, if you deadlift 600 for 1 rep, is that the same as doing 60 for 10 reps? Well, no. But now the volume's the same, but the intensity is frighteningly different. So hinges and loaded carries are a little bit different of an animal. However, your popular armor building formula program's goal, you can find that at danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore, which is supposed to be focused on hypertrophy, is reaching 30 rounds of ABC, which accounts for 30 presses, 60 cleans, and 90 squats. So I'm confused. What's the point of doing so much volume if not for conditioning? Okay, so there's a whole bunch of ways to address all the issues in your body composition, your sports performance, and really your general fitness goals. Clyde Emmerich, who was a teammate of Tommy Kono's, a really underappreciated figure in weightlifting, really underappreciated. I always loved his training. He trained with a standard barbell, not an Olympic barbell. He did a non-hook grip in his training, and he always liked doing things harder. Became the Chicago Bears strength coach. Now, it's important to note that because many people think one of the greatest teams of all time was the 1985 Chicago Bears. You can argue that, really any way you want. But one of the things he said in an interview one time that I thought was brilliant, he said this, Luis. He said, for the barbell, your best rep scheme is singles, doubles, triples, 5s, and maybe up to 8s. With dumbbells and kettlebells, you can do a lot more, but with machines, you can even do a lot more. Now, gentle listeners, if someone gave you a workout program that was 3 sets of 3 in the machine leg curl, at least I would go, huh? Because that just doesn't sound right to me. So like in my gym, when I do hip thrusts and I do leg extensions, we really focus on 20s and 25s, because as you simplify movements, so there's 2 things. So barbells tend to be less reps. Kettlebells and dumbbells, more in that moderate zone. And of course, with machines, you go a little bit higher. And of course, with calisthenics, and don't get me started on some of the stuff I read online, but with calisthenics, you tend to go even higher than that. When I was in high school, it was not unusual for us to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups in a normal workout or practice session. No wonder we all have shoulder problems and lower back problems today, because we didn't do them very well. So one of the things you have to keep in mind is that in strength and conditioning, in health, fitness, sports performance, longevity, is that you're going to have a spectrum, a continuum, a rainbow, if you will, if you're at Rainbow Beach, of options for everything. So it is true, there are times where you can make great progress, say in the Olympic lifts, with nothing but singles. I had some pretty solid success with that at many spots in my career. And then at other times you move to 7 sets of 5. Well, why would you do 7 sets of 5? Because you're in a different place with different needs for the Olympic lifts. In the power lifts, my good friend Marty Gallagher, who I think is a genius, he starts off every single cycle with 8 reps. Now, 8 reps is a lot of reps in the deadlift, but then he slides down to 5, then he slides down to 3, then he slides down to 2, and then you go to the World Championships and you win. With the armor building formula, it is a short-term hypertrophy program. In the same way that Mass Made Simple, my other book available at Amazon or otpbooks.com, probably my second best-selling book of all time. It's a short 6-week high-rep squat program. It is not something you're going to do for the rest of your life. It is something that you do it, and then you say, to quote Tom Haverford from Parks and Rec, you're donezo, okay? You've done the job. Armor building formula, you do it 8 weeks, 2-week prep, 6 weeks to the program. You look at your before and after pictures, you look at your measurements, and then you say to yourself, where do I go from here? I hope that answered the question. Just remember, every rep number, every set scheme, every training program has value. And I think we make the mistake sometimes, and this will come up again today in this podcast, that people like to say, this is right and this is wrong. And the problem is every tool you have, every piece of equipment, every machine, every rep scheme has value at appropriate times. When Tom DeLorme was first working with survivors of polio and World War II disabled veterans, he was giving them 10 sets of 10 in many exercises. But as they improved, he slid down to 7 sets of 10. And then later on, Luis, he gave us this wonderful number of about 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10, a set of 10, a set of 5, and a set of 10. They all work. Everything works for about 6 weeks. I hope that was helpful, my friend, okay? I appreciate the question, but just remember, every program, every idea is appropriate. It's an appropriate tool for the right time. I had a friend say this yesterday at a workshop, the hammer is a wonderful tool, but it doesn't make a very good screwdriver, and it's not a very good tool, for open a milk jug. I thought that was pretty good. Thank you.